1, 2, 3, the place to be. As you can see, it is me, Dru Onyx, and I'm here with Wrestling Revolution with my man, my homie, my compadre, Keaton. Keep listening, keep watching, subscribe. Wrestling Revolution. If not, I'll come for you. Shazam!
Having you on here, obviously we had you on KJ Keaton, but it's really great to meet you in person.
Likewise, man. Give me a handshake. I'm gonna bro it out.
Yeah, so you've done well for yourself. It's the first time taking live. I've watched you a lot on the internet and when you're having runs and stuff. And you're a really big fan of your matches. But how did it all start for you?
How did it all start for me? I was always a fan of wrestling ever since I was a kid. And I got an opportunity. I was playing American football in the States. And we had an off day and we were watching wrestling. And I saw the match with the 1, 2, 3 kid versus Razor Ramon, and he won. And I'm like, if this guy won and he's 200 pounds soaking wet, I should be a wrestler. So all my friends were like, yeah, whatever, put your money where your mouth is. So they all bet me $100 each that I wouldn't finish a wrestling school. So I found a school that was in my hometown in Montreal, and I called the coach and I told him, hey, I want to wrestle. And he said, school's full, call back in 6 months. So I called back in 6 months and I'm like, hey, I want to join. He's like, the school's full. I said, listen, I'm 6'2", I'm 300 pounds, I play American football, I'm one of the best athletes. You tell me you can't use me? He's like, all right, big mouth, show up. So I showed up and he saw that I was coachable, and then I started. And then after that, people, legends, like AWA, former tag team champion, Paul LeDuc saw me, put me in his promotion. Smith Hart, who is the brother of Red and Owen, he saw me, took me to my first Canadian tour. And then it just started like that. And then I had an opportunity to wrestle in England for Andres Baker's NWA UK Hammerlock. Did that, and then that's where I met Finn Balor and Paul Tracy, who owned NWA Ireland at the time. So they invited me to come down. And I said, no, not before you come down to NWA Quebec. That was the promotion that I was running. So they had their first Canadian Thanksgiving at my house. And Finn ate all the food, but I still love him. And that was it. It was just continuing, finding different places to wrestle, to improve my craft, to make sure my skill set was good enough that I'll be able to perform in front of everybody, wrestle anybody, and give the crowd the money's worth. Did you get your money's worth today?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah?
You can tell you're doing so well with character work as well. You've been a really good heel against Stevie V, one of my favourites.
Yeah.
And I think the crowd was probably the loudest, and that's because you know what you're doing with your role. How long did it take you to develop that character?
Well, most importantly, were you one of the guys screaming Baldy at me?
I wasn't. No.
All right, you're a good man. You were raised properly. You have proper parents. I commend them. It takes a while, but see, before I got into wrestling, I used to be a recording artist in hip-hop where I'm from. So I recorded albums, and that gave me an opportunity to work in front of crowds. I was working in front of crowds of 10,000. I was constantly on the mic. So interacting, doing promos was easy. So by the time I went to wrestling, I just transitioned everything that I learned. So it was always easy. The hardest part was understanding why you're doing particular moves and when to do it. We're not selling professional wrestling, we're selling an experience, using professional wrestling as the tool, as the magnet, as the draw. So once I understood that you had to have the wrestlers, the crowd invested in you, then I made sure that you got a reaction, you know what I mean? So, I would get at the kids, I'd get at the parents. If I saw somebody, with their wife, I'd blow her a kiss, and then he would get mad, and then he'd be yelling at me the whole time, and it's fun. It's fun. I just enjoy it.
Yeah, and you mentioned there Owen Hart, Bret Hart, all them people.
Yeah.
Would you say that you get a lot of your style from the legends of Canada, like Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Natalia, people like that?
Well, I was a fan of Bret Hart and Owen Hart. I thought those guys were amazing. And then I had an opportunity to train at the Hart Brothers School. So I hung out with Smith, and Smith was crazy. He's not here right now, but he was crazy, like crazy fun. So, just to be around those type of people, and I had a blessed career, and I say that past tense, but I'm still having fun now. I got to wrestle a lot of former WWE legends like Honky Tonk Man, Greg the Hammer Valentine, King Kong Bundy. I fought then Sabu. I fought Tommy Dreamer. there's so many people, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. So just by doing that and wrestling with those people, you know, you just gain more experience. And once you get experience and you apply the experience, then it becomes wisdom. So anytime you get knowledge and you retain it and use it, it becomes wisdom. So I just try to keep on being wise.
And you mentioned some wrestlers are like Sami Zayn and legends like Top Man.
Yeah.
Who do you think is your favorite person you've ever wrestled?
Who is the what?
Your most favorite person you've ever wrestled?
Okay, so it's hard because, well, Finn Balor, but people are gonna be like, you're biased, you're friends with him. But I loved him because he's such a gentle soul until he gets into the ring. You know what I mean? You'll be over at his house having a barbecue and he'll offer you a hamburger and then he'll try to kick your teeth in later that night. So I just love the competitiveness of him. Sabu, to see him wrestle Taz, who was one of my favorites, and watch their feud, and then all of a sudden you're in the ring with somebody that you look up to, you know, it's crazy. And it's crazy in a good way because I'm in that position because I warranted that. Like, I'm good enough to do what I need to do, you know? Like, when I knew that I had something is when I had a match and I was the only non-WWE person in the match. It was Sylvain Grenier with the Hurricane Helms versus Sheldon Benjamin and me. And I was like, wait a minute, this is just WWE in an arena in front of 2,000 people. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna have my WrestleMania moment now, you know, and I just had fun.
And would you say in that match, you felt a bit of an imposter syndrome?
Oh, I still have that now. Like, because the thing is, how many people wake up and say, I'm gonna be a pro wrestler? You know what I mean? I've had that ever since I was a kid. Originally I wanted to be a Harlem Globetrotter, but my basketball sucked. I loved Muhammad Ali, but my parents wouldn't let me go into boxing. In fact, my mom said, you'll never be in a ring. Years later, I'm in a wrestling ring. So, yeah, it's just fun.
How did Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling start?
Okay, well, Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling as a school started because there was a British boxer named Ricky Hatton. He's like a middleweight world champion. And they used to have like those exposés before the big fights, like a HBO Confidential, and he was fighting somebody. And I was watching, and he's like, you know, I opened up my own gym. And I'm like, what? You can do that? And I'm looking at the gym, and the gym had his initials on it. And he's like, yeah, I got my own gym. So then I said, okay, I want my own gym. So that way I can train and have my friends come and train. And one of the promotions that I was working with and kind of co-promoting, they're like, Drew, can you be a coach? And I said, okay. And that's where it started. And then I got my own place. And then students came in and I was like, okay. And I just kept on. And now it's been 21 years now. I've sent at least 14 or 15 people to WWE tryouts. I've helped train people get ready. Kevin Owens, Brianna Brandy. She got signed. She's still there kicking ass. She just had a match with Charlotte Flair. So I was like, yeah, BFAB. And Sydney Akeem, who used to be Reggie. You know what I mean? So those guys got signed. And then I got 3 of my students, Mustafa Jordan and Wilson Cola. They're known as Chocolate City. They had an AEW tryout and they were on TV for ROH. And then I had a gentleman who left Spain to come to my school, Victor Castella, and he too had a tryout at AEW and he had a match on ROH. So I'm just very blessed to have people's, like, for them to believe in that I could help them with their journey through wrestling. So.
And then you mentioned they're training with Kevin Owens. Right now, he's on SmackDown, one of the biggest stars right now. He went from, I don't know, wrestling in front of about 20 people in Indies with Sami Zayn and El Generico, and then made it very big, main event in WrestleMania against Stone Cold. How did that feel for you? It
felt like I should have got 10% of his earnings for the last 10 years, so I'm going to have to talk to him, have my lawyer talk. No, okay. Dude, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, you know, because here's the story with Kevin Owens. I predicted years ago, the minute I saw him, all right, so let me just tell you a story. So I see this kid, and he's having a match with this gentleman named X69, who's a really good wrestler. And he's still wrestling now. And they're tearing up the place. Like, they're having the match of all matches. And I started a Mr. Wrestling channel. I'm like, Mr. Wrestling. So everybody did. So that whole Mr. Wrestling moniker actually started because of me. So in that same match, I'm like, this guy deserves a raise. So I take out $20, I crumple it, I throw it in the ring. He's kicking excess, catches it, stuffs it inside his tape, and keeps on kicking it. I'm like, this man's brilliant. So, and I've always spoken to him and stuff like that. And then he contacted me and he said, hey, can I go at your gym? So I thought he just wanted to use the ring. So I'm like, yeah, come get the keys. And he's like, no, I need to train. I got something big. I can't say what it is, but I want you to train me. So he came and he humbled himself, and he worked with my beginner students. And if I told him 500 crunches, he did 500. If I told him 500, Hindu squats, he did everything. The basic fundamentals and stuff like that. So then when he got signed, I was just happy, and I just thought that was it. He came back to thank me every time he had a major accomplishment. So he got signed, came to my school, talked to my students, thanked me. He won the Intercontinental title, came back to the school, gave me the Intercontinental title. I was like, yeah, I have it in my office like as a museum. And then when he won the Universal title, yeah, he came back to my school, and he was the one that spoke to Triple H, because Triple H was doing a documentary at the time. And he asked, well, how did you prepare? And he said, Dru Onyx. And Triple said, is he one of the best coaches in Montreal? And he said, no, he's the best in Canada. Well, if he's the best in Canada, we need to bring him to the Performance Center. So that's how I got my opportunity. And then every chance he had, he got on Jericho's podcast and said, if it wasn't for Dru Onyx, I'd never be here, which is not true, but I'll take it. You know what I mean? Because he was a talent. I saw him before everyone else did. In fact, I even predicted it on Facebook. I said, Kevin Owens is just universal. He's a universal champion.
Okay, your alarm's set for 4 o'clock.
Listen, I'm doing a promo. Behave yourself. So yeah, I said universal champion 5 years before the title was even. So when he won it, I went through Facebook, saw that, and I'm like, I'm Nostradamus or Negrodamus, whichever one you want.
And yeah, I know you're right.
Come closer, don't be scared, man. I like you.
I know you're very humble about.
I'm not modest at all. I'm the greatest.
Like training with Cameroons and people like that, but like there is obviously great training with like a BFAB who's on SmackDown facing Charlotte Flair.
That was crazy.
And you must be very proud to train them, and also there must be something that you teach that makes these so good. So what's the main thing at Target Chamber Pro Wrestling that you want new trainees to come out learning?
Respect the craft. Be a practitioner of pro wrestling. Understand the psychology of what you're doing. You are getting into the ring to work with another opponent, work with the referee collectively to entertain the crowd. Also to be coachable. Teamwork is a very important thing. Even though wrestling is a singular type of entertainment or a tag team, I make sure that there's no bullying in my school. Everyone works together. Everyone helps together. You're only as strong as your weakest link. I know it's such a cliche, but it's true. So there's nobody that watches somebody at my school do wrong and doesn't help them and motivate them. The two strongest things that I do is motivate and educate. I try to be the coach that I either enjoyed in the past or wish I had when I was a kid.
Yeah, and thanks so much for coming on, especially at this time. You must be so tired after facing the ultimate smack Stevie Fee.
Well, you told me you were going to give me $200 for this interview, so I'm just waiting.
And it was obviously such a good match, with Stevie
Yeah?
Fee. And,
What surprised you about that match? What did you like about the match?
what I liked about the match was the crowd were so electric. You knew what you were doing with your character, and you still do, no matter what. And you continue to just be a success in the ring, and a great wrestler. And I just want to know from someone like you, this is the last question, what's next for Dru Onyx?
Try to perfect my craft as a wrestler. You never stop learning. As soon as you think you've stopped learning, that's when it all goes downhill. Try to improve myself as a good coach. Try to be a good person with moral standings and just self-betterment, and try to project a light of positivity to everybody. I try to make sure that if we never speak again, the last time you speak to me, it was something positive or enlightening. And I made a quote that Kevin called me up on. I said, I may not be a world champion myself, but before I die, I'm going to train one. And he called me out on that. He's like, well, you didn't train me from the beginning, but the Universal is a world title, so as far as that, you did. So, and it's great to see so many people who've been in my school and come back and told me, whether they, prolonged in the career of wrestling or not. They just said my teachings helped them just in life, whether it was in business, whether it was at home and stuff like that. So I believe my purpose on earth is to be a service to others. So hopefully God will give me enough grace to continue.
Yeah, that was incredible. Just hearing your story and hearing how you started out and things like that. So thanks so much for coming on, especially at this time when you must be so tired. We're all tired, so thank you so much for coming on.
Well, listen, I did it because you're an upstanding person. You're very polite. You're well spoken. I can see that you're very passionate for this. And if I could do anything to increase the spark and make it a flame and make it a blazing inferno, then that's my job.
Thanks so much.
All right, sir? Take it easy.